Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. I trust you had a great weekend. I'd like to start with some home thoughts. This is a recurring scene in my dreams, says Photo. And it's pretty dramatic, isn't it? Kind of traps one's imagination. All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream, Edgar Allan Poe. I dream my painting and I paint my dreams, Vincent van Gogh. This is a painting of sunflowers, repetition of the fourth version, Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. I like this. That is the way it is the translation. Mohsin Hamid, who was my brother's roommate at Harvard, said, as a mongrelized human being, I don't find the world around us satisfactory. The hope is that new cities are born, people move, new stuff begins to happen, better food is created, there's better music. People having sex who wouldn't be having sex before and enjoying it much more now, he says. If Copenhagen is like Rio de Janeiro in 100 years, maybe people of Copenhagen today will think that's a disaster, but maybe their grandchildren will think it's fantastic. This is a photograph of sunshine on Mars. It only comes after extreme darkness and freezing temperatures. Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, the savior of the world, was sold at Christie's for $450.3 million. There is some dispute about to whom it was sold, but there was speculation it was sold to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Listen to this, in 2005, the painting was acquired for less than $10,000 at an auction in New Orleans. Then Karl Marx, who I follow on Twitter, tweets, Jesus is holding the orb in his hand. Work that into your conspiracy theory for a nice touch. In October this year, I had the privilege to spend time with some of the largest elephants in the world. Look at the full video, which is on Facebook. That's David Yarrow. Political reflections, nuclear bombs are not weapons. They are wanton machines of symmetric destruction. It goes back to the piece I was writing about North Korea. Screaming comes across the sky. The sun is seen setting over the Valley of the Gods in Bears Ears National Monument, seen from the Moki Dugway North Mexican hat. Getty Images. C'est dimanche et jour férié en Irak pour célébrer la victoire contre IS annoncée samedi par le ministre Haïdar al-Abadi. Very poor French, but the point is that he's celebrating victory over IS and saying the matter is now concluded. And I think it's difficult to underestimate what a significant win that was. You had a fractured country, largely at civil war with itself, has managed to go through there, has managed to assert the unity of Iraq. Quite a success, I would say, if you look at it from that perspective. We can be sure that in the coming days, many an emergency committee will be formed to deal with this danger. They will, as we all know, be worthless. Goodbye Palestine, goodbye the two-state solution, goodbye the Palestinians, for this new Israeli capital is not for them. Trump did not even use the word Palestine, he talked about Israel and the Palestinians, in other words, of a state and of those who do not deserve and can no longer aspire to a state. No wonder I received a call in Beirut last night from a Palestinian woman who had just listened to the Trump destruction of the peace process. Remember Kingdom of Heaven, she asked me, referring to Ridley Scott's great movie of the 1187 fall of Jerusalem. Well, it's now the Kingdom of Hell. But it was the linguistic analysis of Noam Chomsky that, when I was at university, later became a good friend, which I applied to the Trump speech. The first thing I spotted was, as I mentioned above, the absence of Palestine. What is the recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital supposed to produce? A debate, for heaven's sake? Is that what to rethink old assumptions means? In 1850, August Salzmann photographed near Jerusalem the road to Bethlehem. This I found via some reading around Roland Barthes, whose famous book about photography, Camera Lucida. And in that it says, in 1850, August Salzmann photographed near Jerusalem the road to Bethlehem. As it was spelled at the time, nothing but stony ground, olive trees. But three lenses dizzy my consciousness, my present, the time of Jesus, and that of the photographer. All this under the instance of reality, and no longer through the elaborations of the text, whether fictional or poetic, which itself is never credible down to the root. Important point, Naomi Campbell, Call to Action, Anti-Slavery March in London. Another milestone along the path of Belton Road, Sri Lanka officially hands over the southern port of Habantota to China on a 99-year lease. And you remember at the end of August I said Sri Lanka, which gorged on Chinese debt, has had to disgorge the Habantota port to its creditor. The piece was called China Rising. It's on Rich Wrap-Ups. 60 insiders revealed Trump's daily fight for self-preservation, cable news, Diet Cokes, and an iPhone at the ready. And I tweeted, that's obviously the new normal, President of the United States. World arms sales climbed 1.9% year on year to $374.8 billion in 2016, the first increase since 2010. Bitcoin, of course, went live. Futures trading on Bitcoin went live today. Last year, at the end of last year, I said the optimal portfolio is long Bitcoin and long Bitcoin, short gold. Bitcoin futures topped $18,000, soared 20% from the open, and had to be halted for the second time. This is zero hedge. The piece I wrote at the end of November was Bitcoin, wow, what a ride. And as we said, they rose 20% from the open threshold for trading hold. First day of trading, CBOE. Due to heavy traffic on our website, visitors may find that it is performing slower than usual and at times be temporarily unavailable. All trading systems are operating normally. Bitcoin futures rally tripped CBOE's second breaker, triggering a brief halt. So we're still seeing fireworks in Bitcoin. Look, the thing is, there are 21 million Bitcoins out there, so theoretically, the supply is limited, and therefore it could be prone for a further squeeze. Euro dollar rallying a little bit, 117.88, dollar index well above 93.50 at 93.90, Japanese yen at 113.42, Swiss franc 0.9920, the pound is at 134.19, the Australian dollar, which has come down quite dramatically, rebounding 0.7530, India rupee 64.365, South Korean won 1091.95, Brazilian real 328.93, Egyptian pound 17.788, South African rand 13.6249. Dollar index, and that's been drifting higher. This is a chart from NASA Consulting, who's looking for 95. Euro dollar, this is a 3-month chart, looking to regain the 118 level. It's in a 114.50, which is where I think the downside target is, versus a 120.60 target on the upside. Commodity markets, gold, which has been quite soft of late. We've regained 12.50, having been below it for a couple of sessions. Crude oil, Let's take a look at that. Last trading at $57.37. I think that's well underpinned, as I said before. Emerging markets is trouble, asks NASA consulting. Look at the chart. Hitting the bottom band could spill. Sub-Saharan Africa, let us all work hard to build a new Zimbabwe. Even on the weekend, tweeted the President, Emerson Mnangagwa. Think outside the box, work without the clock. We have much work to do. I remain of the view that the genie's out of the bottle. More of the ZANU-PF saying is not going to work, but let's see how things develop from here. Rebels kill 15 peacekeepers in Congo in the worst attack on the UN in recent history. Suspected Ugandan rebels killed at least 15 Tanzanian UN peacekeepers and wounded 53 others in a raid on a base in Congo that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Friday called the worst attack on the organization in recent history. This is an aerial picture of the MONUSCO camp at the Semuliki River. Things have really heated up over there. And in this you see the arrival of President Joseph Kabila in Brazzaville on a tripartite visit including the Republic of Congo, DR Congo, and Angola. A drought in Malawi has exposed the country's near total reliance on hydroelectricity, meaning blackouts last up to 25 hours. South African all shares up 14.53% year to date, but the big story last week was Steinhoff. Have a look at this chart of Steinhoff, which began the year with a valuation of more than $20 billion. That's from Anthony Segwazin at Bloomberg. My piece over the weekend is about Steinhoff, and I said Bloomberg reported on Friday that in the space of 1 week, Steinhoff International Holdings have become the world's worst performing stock of 2017 among stocks that began the year with a market cap of more than $20 billion. Since Monday, about $14 billion of market cap has been re-raised. The owner of Conforama in France, mattress firm in the US, and Poundland in the UK, is also working with auditors Deloitte LLP to publish full-year financial results, which were delayed indefinitely on Wednesday after the company discovered accounting irregularities and said its chief executive officer, Marcus Just, had quit. Steinhoff on Friday postponed an annual meeting with bankers in London by 8 days to December the 19th, citing a lack of financial information to discuss. That was from Bloomberg. Steinhoff was founded in 1964 by Bruno Steinhoff in Germany. Bruno Steinhoff sourced furniture from communist Europe and sold it in Eastern Europe. The company moved its headquarters to South Africa in 1998 and went public on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange that same year. Mr. Christo Wiese, known as the man with the Midas touch, is the largest shareholder in Steinhoff, which is listed at both Frankfurt. European commercial bank is holding Steinhoff bonds as part of their quantitative easing program, unnursing a whopping loss. And in Johannesburg, Wiese is a colourful fellow and was once intercepted at London City Airport with close to £1 million in cash in his luggage. All these companies were suckered into believing Christo Wiese has the Midas touch, says Magda, Wierzycka, chief executive of Signia, the South African investment manager. Let's ignore the noise about Steinhoff because it's Christo. That was the view. Born in Uppington in the Northern Cape and graduating from Stellenbosch University near Cape Town, Mr. Wiese cut his teeth in his family's retail business, Pep stores. Over the decades, it became Pep Core, sold to Steinhoff for $5.7 billion in 2014. Another early bet on ShopRite at Western Cape Grocer eventually also turned into a stake in an African consumer behemoth, burnishing the legend of its golden touch. Lenders and other creditors have almost 18 million euros on the hook to the company. Long-term liabilities were calculated to be 12.1 billion and short-term liabilities 5.87 at the end of March. Steinhoff's first half earnings statement showed. In South Africa, Steinhoff's relationships with Standard Bank, Investec, First Rand, globally, some of the lenders include Citi, Bank of America, HSBC, and BNP Paribas. Steinhoff's share price decline has spread to related companies associated with Wiese, including Steinhoff Africa Retail and ShopRite Holdings Limited. As I scrambled to catch up with the story, I was amazed at how the story was being reported in South Africa, which proudly advances the idea that it is the most liquid market in Africa. SABC News was reporting the story from the angle of black disempowerment, but Steinhoff did not have sufficient BEE correlated representation, and this was the fundamental flaw. The JSE was arguing that the primary listing was in Frankfurt, and therefore the primary investigation was being led by the Europeans. No one seemed keen on establishing the facts and sizing the whole, other than opining on the share price collapse and Christo's exponentially reducing fortune. This forensic intellectual cul-de-sac seemingly across vast swathes of South African media, Alicia Seckham of Business Day TV, deserves a shout-out for bucking the trend. It was very curious and made me wonder if the Zupta's linguistic onslaught over the years had not dumbed things down big. As I scanned the internet for some serious beef and something I could tuck into, I finally came across a report authored by the Viceroy Research Group, headlined "Viceroy Unearths Steinhoff Skeletons, Off-Balance Sheet Related Party Entities Inflating Earnings, Obscuring Losses." The link is on Rich Wrap-Ups. What is clear is that Steinhoff had been using off-balance sheet entities to pump up earnings and obscure losses. This is reflected by the fact that 85% of Steinhoff's EBIT is not translated into free cash flows. The above facts indicate Steinhoff appeared to be running a Ponzi scheme, as these non-cash earnings are disguised through issuing fresh equity. The report is worth reading in full. The interview to which I was referring, that Alicia Seckham did with JP Verster, is also on Rich Wrap-Ups. And as I said, Viceroy seriously unearthed the skeletons of the story behind Steinhoff. Dollar Rand, 1364.29. South Africa's top 10 Nelson Mandela sites. This is Lucy Korn. Nigerian all shares up 46.08% this year. The Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is up 49.24% so far this year. President Museveni of Uganda celebrated Diwali. Have a look at this photograph he tweeted out. And then QZ Ports Africa have a great piece. Africa, as you've probably never seen it before, courtesy of NASA. President Kenyatta has said to Raila Odinga, "I'm done talking about politics, wait for William Ruto in 2022. The NASA coalition have decided to postpone, which they're keen to emphasize, the inauguration of the Right Honourable Raila Odinga. It was always politically an insane move. Kenya's shilling has strengthened further to 102.685. Nairobi all shares up 31.45% this year. The East African has been reporting that the government has released $7 million of bailout cash to Uchumi. Mike of Blockchain Association of Kenya says shilling 60 million worth of bitcoins traded weekly in Kenya. The NSE 20 is up 17.71% so far this year. This is a great photograph of high-up viewing of the Mara Magical Kenya. This is by Vinio O. And if you're interested in a particular share, there's a link to which you can dive into any share listed at the stock exchange. Wishing a great week. Tomorrow's a holiday here. And enjoy December.